Welcome to a new series where I show you how I transformed this ordinary footage of a street in Berlin, Germany into a futuristic cyberpunk scene. We'll walk through the entire process step by step, from analyzing the original plate and generating the sci-fi environment using ComfyUI to compositing and delivery to final color grading. As with all of my projects, the goal is to demonstrate how we can use AI in professional cinematic pipelines to achieve industry standard quality, all while maintaining total data privacy by running the entire pipeline locally on my own machine. Let's jump right into it.
No data centers have been used in the making of this video.
Okay, so now I'm looking at it as a director. And what I see is, okay, there is rain, there is a drone, I'm looking at her face. I'm very much focused on her expression and her face, and like, something doesn't match up. Because if she's walking in the rain, why her hair so dry? Okay, maybe I don't care so much about the clothes and the skin, can get away with that, but my eyes are now focusing on her eyes, and especially at the end when she's closed up and getting into focus, her hair is dry. So it's completely destroying my immersion in the scene. Okay, so I'm sure that we've all been there, that we worked on something really hard, we zoomed in on details, we made everything looks good, and then someone else in production, director or supervisor, is looking at the image and detecting something that we completely missed. So we need to go back a step, fix the hair, and deliver the shot. Okay, so the way I decided to go about it is to generate her hair again in ComfyUI, because I thought that would be a very good exercise for inpainting or to replace an object in the scene. So I got that workflow in ComfyUI from the YouTuber CTRL_FX, and the video title is ComfyUI plus Wan VACE to video, next level dynamic paintouts. So I really recommend you to watch this video. When I watched it for the first time a few months ago, it really blew my mind. The workflow itself is also very useful to do other things, not only to paint out, but also to replace objects, which is what we are going to do now. Okay, so the first thing that I did is to track her face and to crop the image to the right size for the model, because we don't need all the pixels around her. And also this workflow works best in this resolution when the width is 832 on 420. So the first step would be to generate one frame of her dry hair. But because in this shot she starts from the back and coming into the camera, I decided actually to take the last frame. Because in the last frame she has the most resolution and she's most detailed. So this is what I uploaded here, and ignore this error for now. I already ran this workflow. And here I just added a very simple prompt. A woman walking in the rain with wet black hair soaked in water. She's wearing black headphones. So the last frame that I got is this one. I ran it a few times with different seed and I decided to go with this seed. So this is the original one and this is the new one. And after I ran the rest of the workflow, which I will not get into too much detail right now because the original video does a very good job at explaining that, the result is this video over here, which looks good to me. It has some issues, of course, like everything that we do with AI, but this is something that we can really start working with. And her hair really looks much wetter. All right, so let's jump back into Nuke and composite this new hair on the shot that we have. Okay, so here I imported the new asset that we got from ComfyUI. And as you can see, the node graph is a little bit bigger than what I expected to do because this shot had a little bit more issues than what I expected. So first thing first, I did a black match and a grade and some more grade with a Luma key and a blur here and some masking here and sharpening, and then some alpha operation. I added a little bit of grain because look at the hair here, it's completely without texture, and always adding a tiny bit of grain is helpful. Some more operations with the alpha. Here I wanted to fill this hole, also masked the green traffic light, this one. And then it's just a matter of reformatting it and scaling and destabilizing. So here is where I did the stabilizing and the crop and everything and exported it to ComfyUI. And here I just reversed everything so it will line up with the shot. Added rain back into her, and I just copy paste the same nodes that we have here for the rain from the big node groups that we had before. So I know that I get exactly the same rain. There will not be any issues with syncing or whatever. Okay, so this is the last frame with the original hair, and this is with the new hair. And it looks okay. It's a little bit shifted. It doesn't like 100%, but it's good enough because when we start playing it, it actually looks very decent. There is only one problem here with the eyes. So I key mixed back the original eyes because the eyes are the most important things and I really want the original eyes of the actress. One thing that bothers me a lot since the previous run is that this drone here is getting really purple and ugly. So I also decided to fix this one and make it green, like the green traffic light. Still, it's not perfect. You still have this ugly thing here, but at least it will not be so obvious in the frame when we run it. And it's only like 4 or 5 frames, you know. So please forgive me again for being a very lazy compositor. This is just like demonstration, prototyping kind of videos, and I'm also learning with you as I go. So it's not like 100% pixel accurate production Hollywood quality, whatever. Okay, so let's look at it. And for me, it looks okay. Yeah, so that's the final result I got to. And at the end, it really looks wet and nice, right? I really like here how it looks like. So another big problem that we have in the shot is here around her head. But this is not something that was introduced now with the new hair. It was also before. And I think this is just because the mask that we got at the very beginning, when we cut the characters and we had a depth map behind her, I think that mask was not tight enough. So another good lesson learned is that those early masks, they are very important. So don't sleep on that. But right now, I'm not going to fix it. Not only because it's a little bit too late for me, but also because I can justify it by just saying it's a reflection of the headset. You see, it's like the headphones are a little bit reflective, or maybe because her hair is wet, it also reflects kind of the light behind her. So that's going to be my excuse now to continue forward. Okay, back here in DaVinci Resolve, I also want to show you that I used this opportunity to work on her face, also to match the blacks with the background a little bit better. Because if we zoom in here and I can do before and after, you can see that the before hair has a more like red tinted kind of color, and now I matched it more with the greenish blue of the background. Yeah, here also you can see in that frame, if I do before and after, this is a little bit more neutral, and here is a little bit more stylized, similar to the colors of the background. Okay, before we continue forward and wrapping up this project, I want to do another step. As always, yes, there is another step. I want to show you this website here, this person from Moving Image Art. Yeah, this person here wrote this very interesting article, and what they did is make a CopyCat script in Nuke that attempts to transfer the 8-bit footage into half float. Of course, this sounds amazing. This sounds like, oh, I really want that before I send my footage to the color grader, right? Because at the beginning we said, okay, we move from the 12-bit camera footage down to the 8-bit. So, hey, maybe now we can use AI directly in Nuke to transfer it back to 16-bit. Okay, let's try. Okay, so here back in Nuke, I'm reading the footage with the wet hair. And the first thing I do is I format it to 2K. Because if you go through the article I showed you, you can see that they trained the CopyCat model on 2K footage, which is a DCI format. I tried both DCI format and 16:9, and I didn't see a huge difference, but I did see a very big difference between try to do it at 4K or HD compared to 2K. The 2K reformatting really made the CopyCat work much better. Okay, so this is the CopyCat script that I provided. if I push down the gamma, you can see we have much more details here in the highlights and the fire and this fire here. So let's compare it with this one. You see, this is before and after. Before, after, before, after. So this is quite amazing, right? I was really happy to see that. That's like exactly what I want to deliver to my color grader. But just to be on the safe side, what I did here is I luma keyed those parts, all the highlights, and I merge it back on the original plate, because I don't know, like one of the things with CopyCat is that sometimes you get this grid looking pattern if you really zoom in. And I was afraid that maybe something like that would happen, so I only cut out the bright areas and merge it back on the original plate. So as you can see, those are the highlights, and this is the original plate, and now I merge it together. Looking at it back in DaVinci, I remember that I struggle a little bit with the color spaces because the CopyCat script is using a very specific ACES color space, and I had to find the right color space transforms to use back in DaVinci Resolve, so I will not get any like color errors and stuff like that. So if you're trying it out, just like prototype a little bit before you jump into it and try to do some round trips between Nuke and DaVinci and see what works for you and your footage. And you can see there are no big color differences instead of the parts that are highlights. Okay, fantastic. So it's finally time to do color grading. And one caveat before I show you my color grade is that I am not a professional color grader. Like, this is not what I do for a living. Like, in the past, people contacted me to do color grading on their films, and I always declined. I'm okay doing color grading on my own films, but I will not charge money to do it on someone else's film, because I know that there is a lot of art and science into color grading that is beyond my experience and knowledge, and I really appreciate all the color graders that I worked with in the past, and I learned a lot from them, and I know that they know so much more than me on this like really big and deep like discipline and art of color grading. So okay, with that out of the way, let me show you what I did. Okay, so here is my color tab, and the first node is the curve and colors. The second one is the skin tone. It's very subtle, but you see here at the end, I really hate that it's getting oversaturated, so I fixed that. And the next one is the blue shift. I don't know if you can see on YouTube, but I just balanced the blue to be less green teal and more natural blue. Here I worked on the highlights, which is exactly why we did the last thing in Nuke. So we can have more details here in the highlights, so before and after. And here before and after, you see it looks much nicer, and also the fire looks much nicer. The next one is adding a little bit more contrast to the background because it looks a little bit milky without it. And there are still some really ugly reds that I don't like, so that's the next stage. I muted the reds a little bit, but now that I'm looking at it, maybe it's also a little bit too bright. Anyway, the next two nodes here is something that I learned from one of the color graders that I work with, is that at the end of your node graph, what he likes to do is to desaturate the really highlights and the really black. So the white and the blacks will be neutral, and you will not get like really weird color shifts. So I also did it here. And it looks very obvious on her shirt, like look, now this is blue, and you may like this blue, but when it's a more neutral black, I think it gives a much better overall look to the entire shot. Because when your blacks are blue, maybe it looks a little bit like an old VCR or something like that. And the last node is the film look, because I really like grainy movies, and this shot reminded me a lot of movies like Blade Runner or Alien, and all those films are very contrasty and really full of texture. So this is why I went with a very heavy film look. So here's the final shot, and I'm very happy with it. There are still many issues that I could fix if it was a real production, but I'm really impressed overall. I think, yeah, like those tools now are production ready if you know how to use them. If you know all those like points where things start to fail and you compensate for that. Yeah, like the biggest issues that I can detect now that I could have done much better is to have like a better early mask at the beginning, so the halo around her head would not be like it is right now. Like I could have fixed that if I really wanted to. I could start painting or roto or do something there. Yeah, but honestly, I'm like ready to call it a day and say I'm happy with what I got. I learned a lot by doing this, and I hope you also gain a lot from watching me discovering how to make cinematic work with AI. I also made a few examples here. And so this is like a swipe from the left to the right. And I really like the next one, which is like a dissolve into the dreamland of the sci-fi universe. I really like this effect because your eyes are really focused on the character and the things around her change and the drone is coming into frame. It's really, really beautiful. One issue that I can see right now when I'm comparing them side by side is that still the very highlights, like the traffic lights and stuff, they are not exactly like in the original one. So the AI that we did in Nuke, the CopyCat model, it did an okay job, but it's not perfect. So what I'm really hoping for is that in the near future, we're going to start getting models that can also do full float or half float, 16-bit or 32 bits, or maybe even like LoRa's or models that are specifically doing that in ComfyUI, because honestly, like, I don't like the texture of the CopyCat. You know, it looks sometimes like this pixelated grid. But really, this is like such a small thing, and in the overall scheme of things, I'm very happy with it. For quality assurance, the next step for me would be to test it in a cinema, you know, on a real projector. And luckily for me, this studio of mine in Berlin is actually a home cinema. So I do have a very big screen here with a very good 4K projector and surround sound system. The next step, which is going to be a bonus step, would be to make sound design and to test it on the big screen.